Welcome to the show. Let's talk to David Buik, Senior Market Commentator at Panmure Gordon. Morning to you, David.
Good morning to you, Moose.
Right, London number one. I'll read the headlines this week. Do you feel as if we're number one?
Oh, yes.
That's the right answer.
There's a touch, one has to be very careful that it's not a touch of arrogance, because things adverse can happen. But people need to look at the facts rather than surmising. First and foremost, London has a 70-year infrastructure track record. It's taken in housing the euro-dollar market with 300 banks in London by the end of the 70s. It opened its arms to the world that it is open for business in 1980 with the abolition of exchange controls, which was more important, in my opinion, than Big Bang in 1986. There's nothing like infrastructure, continuity, and success to keep London at the head of affairs. And Frankfurt and Paris, they can bleat all they like. In the case of Frankfurt, German is not the easiest language in the world. Frankfurt's a town, 750,000 people. And France has no real track record in financial services on a global basis. And I'm sure they're going to take a few hundred people from various banks as a contingency plan, and I hope they have a lovely holiday, because they'll be back.
Yep.
And the fact remains is that London, and it's not me talking, these are facts, is at the head of affairs, with New York a little bit behind, Tokyo and others, because it's the center of the time zone. English is the international language of the world. And why break a system up when it works? It doesn't make any sense. And also, if you move 20,000 people, or whatever it is, from London to other cities, which may include also Amsterdam and Dublin and various other places, why do you want to make your staff disenchanted when they've got them down at school, they're doing well, they've got themselves some friends, they've got themselves an environment where it's...
A lifestyle.
Yeah, it's crazy. So they can all bleat as much as they like. As far as I'm concerned, Brexit actually is irrelevant. It's a problem, and it has to be faced. But at the end of the day, London is where business is conducted in great size, with great, how can I put it, aplomb, and very efficiently.
Let's move on to Northern Rock, 10-year anniversary. The FT at the weekend was writing a story about some of the people who lost their homes, talking about going to court. What's your take on that?
Well, I mean, it was, I don't know if you recall, I'm sure you do in your broking days, but I can recall Adam Applegarth, who was then the CEO around 2004, up to 2007, regularly appearing every quarter, arrogant, cocky, self-opinionated in Merrill Lynch's office, extolling the virtues of Northern Rock, what a wonderful institution it was. Saw its share price build up from the issue price of around 400p, I think, to £12.50 at the end of 2006. They broke the cardinal sin, or the cardinal rule is they lent long, up to 125% mortgages, and borrowed short.
Yep.
And, you know, they couldn't sustain it. And we noticed when I was at BGC as a money broker, as every other money broker noted, from 6 months before they went down, which is about 10 years ago, you couldn't find them any money at any price. Now, the Bank of England and the authorities knew this, and I think there was a question, really, basically, of Gordon Brown, who was then Prime Minister, had this tripartite, which is the Treasury, the Bank of England, and the regulator, the FCA, but he didn't delegate clear responsibilities. And they got off the hook. And I'm standing firm behind Mervyn King, because the Bank of England was not responsible for the health of Northern Rock, it was the regulator. And they failed, and the trouble is that the government and the opposition endorsed soft regulation, and that's why you had these queues all over these 60-odd branches of Northern Rock, desperate to get their money out. And in my opinion, the only person who came out with any credit out of all this was Alistair Darling as the Chancellor. He did an excellent job and made sure not only that was the minimum amount up from £50,000 to £80,000 from these, how can I put it, under duress building societies, but he also added a little bit of panache and a little bit of calm to the situation. It was a very bad and recklessly run institutions. Thousands of people lost their homes, and, you know, some of the mortgages that were offered were just ridiculous.
Outrageous. David, thank you very much indeed.